Welcome to the November 2014 program of JW Broadcasting. This month, the School for Kingdom Evangelizers, one of the classes was held in a beautiful new facility in Palm Coast, Florida. This is a beautifully refurbished facility for theocratic education. We're pleased to provide you with a look at the property and the work that was accomplished to make it ready for the first class.
Situated on 13 acres, it consists of 9 classrooms, 200 guest rooms, and a kitchen and dining room. The new campus still required extensive renovations before the first students arrived on September 4th, and the support was overwhelming.
At times, it's hard to get them to go home for the night. They just want to stay and continue to work because they see the amount of work that needs to be done.
And we had a very tight time frame. The work that was necessary was extensive cleaning. There was painting work to be done, electrical work to be done, HVAC work to be done, plumbing, and then extensive landscaping was also done, and it's made the whole area absolutely gorgeous.
Although many of our brothers put in many hours, others contributed financially. With rooming on site, the students can now spend more time on study. It has been especially appreciated by the single sisters that now have an additional opportunity to expand their ministry.
When the announcement was made, I was so excited. And I made it my goal to submit my application and get my life ready. I had to get my finances together. I had to see if I was able to quit my job and be okay. My brother had just found out he had cancer, stage 3 cancer.
By looking at how Jehovah has guided the students to be able to attend the school, we can be confident that this new facility will be used to the full.
We can see directly that Jehovah has said, this is where I want you to go.
When I came to this place and I saw hundreds of brothers and sisters who were here volunteering, the only way it could be done was through the Spirit of God.
As we've seen time and time again, with Jehovah's Spirit and willing workers, much can be accomplished to Jehovah's praise. While it's important that we care for our own spirituality and that of our family, our ministry revolves heavily around helping other people.
True or false? The most important reason for preaching and teaching is love of neighbor. It sounds good, but it is wrong. The most important motive for preaching is, first of all, love for Jehovah. And the most important objective is to praise Jehovah. We want to glorify Him and to support the vindication of His sovereignty. Love of neighbor comes second.
For a few minutes, I'd like to address the theme, helping people of all language groups. Do you feel the urgency of the times in which we are now living?
Our preaching and teaching work is more important than ever.
What a privilege we have to be serving God in these last days, at a time when Jehovah is speeding up the kingdom preaching work. No matter where we look in the earthly part of Jehovah's organization, we see that things are progressing at an amazing rate. The preaching work is penetrating more places. The theocratic schools are helping thousands. And the construction work earthwide is growing. There are so many exciting developments that we could discuss. But I'd like to discuss with you something that's very close to my heart, namely the translation work that is being accomplished by Jehovah's people. Just a few decades ago, we were producing Bible literature in a little over 200 languages.
For more than a century, Jehovah's Witnesses have made a priority of translating Bible truth. At the making of this video, we translate in over 600 languages, with more being added regularly.
But that figure has now risen to well over 700 languages, and the number continues to increase every week. Why, just last service year alone, approval was given to start translating into 88 new languages.
In November 2019, the governing body reported an amazing milestone. Content on jw.org was now available in 1,000 languages.
In 2021, we reached an exciting milestone. The New World Translation is now available in whole or in part in well over 200 languages.
But why is it necessary to do all this translation work?
Brother Noor was overjoyed to release a translation that was not tainted with false religion, that restored Jehovah's holy name to its rightful place, and that was translated by anointed brothers of Christ.
Why go to all the trouble of translating the Bible's message into these less common languages? To hear the truth, the truth, the truth, the truth.
Jehovah provides the tools we need. As we use them, we make Bible truths widely available in hundreds of languages.
Bible truth.
We help people to understand the truth and let it reach their hearts.
In the language of their heart.
Imagine trying to replicate a food recipe, but you do not have the original ingredients. You need to use substitutes, but still create the same taste and flavor.
The languages of their birth.
You want to recreate the same meaning and emotional impact as the original.
Typically, the publisher growth in these languages is much higher than the worldwide average.
Why go to all the trouble of translating the Bible's message into these less common languages?
Typically, the publisher growth in these languages is much higher than the worldwide average.
We aren't engaged in an academic exercise or some competition.
Jehovah's Witnesses produce the only literature that is readily and freely available to the people.
Is it so that we can become known as the organization that produces literature in the most number of languages?
It didn't stop at 1,000. More than 20 languages have been added since that 2019 report.
No group anywhere even attempts such a task.
No.
The governing body has asked.
A fẹ́ mọ ohun tí Bíbélì pè ní
corpo governante. Le cuerpo governante.
The governing body recognizes what a responsible project this is, so they arrange specialized training to guide translators and to assure them of Jehovah's support.
Translation teams work under the direction of the writing committee of the governing body. Additionally, the publishing committee of the governing body supports their work by building remote translation offices and equipping them with the tools they need.
In the past century of kingdom rule, with translation now taking place in over 700 languages, at times, the fastest way to start operation is to rent or purchase existing facilities and, if needed, carry out renovation work. For example, this method was used to acquire the housing units for the American Sign Language RTO in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
The brothers called us one day and asked us if we would be willing to transfer to the RTO, the Remote Translation Office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where they translate into American Sign Language. And we were there for 5 years. This is a picture of the residence buildings there.
It looks very beautiful.
In May of 2019, they bought a commercial property, another one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's an office building of about 10,000 square feet, and the society paid $2.875 million for this property. Now, unlike, say, their purchase of the property in Palm Coast, Florida,
cleaning, painting work, electrical work, HVAC work, plumbing, and then extensive landscaping.
This building was actually in pretty decent shape when they bought it. We can see here some photos of how it was when they purchased it. But as the society usually does, they decided to go in and renovate it after they purchased it. And the renovation basically took the rest of the year there, and it wrapped up in the beginning of 2020. So we see here some photos of how it looked after the renovation. Definitely pretty nice in there. So the dedication program for this building was in February 15th of 2020. And the program was held at the Society's Convention Center in West Palm Beach, Florida. Now, during the dedication program for the building, there was another landmark announced during one of the talks.
We want to mention something to you. Something very special. You see, the team has been working on translating the Bible and the sign language for 15 years. And today, this means with the release of the book of Job, the whole New World Translation is now completed.
So in essence, at this program, the society said in one talk, hey, our building is all ready for us to use. It is ready to go for this project. And then a few minutes later, another talk mentions, hey, guess what? The project that we bought this building for, it's all finished. All done. And as you can imagine, really the only reason this building was purchased was to turn it around and sell it for a profit a little later down the road. And that's pretty much the case for all real estate transactions of the Watchtower Society.
It gives me extreme pleasure.
It's just usually not quite this glaringly obvious where the connection can be made in the same meeting session. And so now, wouldn't you know it, the ASL Bible translation team has been dissolved. That building is empty now. And look at that, it's up for sale now. So the society is asking $4.1 million for this building now, roughly $1 million more than what they have into it, depending how much they spend on the renovation. So at any rate, not too bad for 3 years.
In just the last few years, over 300 RTOs have been established worldwide. We have ahead of us plans for over 100 RTOs to be established in the next few years.
For a number of years, there were just a handful of RTOs. Today, there are over 400 worldwide.
Jehovah's Witnesses stand out as absolutely different. We have the same logic, the same goal, and all worship the same God, Jehovah. And what is Jehovah's will concerning this matter? All sorts of people should be saved and come to an accurate knowledge of truth. Clearly then, Jehovah wants everyone to hear the kingdom message in their own language so that they can be saved and come to an accurate knowledge of truth. That's why the governing body continues to approve the translation of our literature into more and more languages to help them to come to an accurate knowledge of the truth. If they don't understand basic Bible truths, how could they prepare for baptism? Something that's very close to my heart. Brother Lloyd Barry, who served on the governing body until he finished his earthly course in 1999, was a missionary and was sent across the world to spread the kingdom good news. Enjoy this lively presentation of the early days of his missionary life in Japan.
Brother Noah had come down. He knew of the troubles in Japan and he'd asked for volunteers to go to Japan. He selected a group of 28 to learn the Japanese language. So we sailed into Yokohama port there and we looked at those people, and we knew at the time there were only a handful, maybe half a dozen kingdom publishers active in the country. We wondered, will anything ever come out of this? They shipped us down to Kobe, which is our missionary assignment, and I'll never forget those early missionary days there. Everyone wanted to listen to us, and our big problem was to find out who was really interested in the truth. I remember one month when we had 12 missionaries in the home, we reported 360 studies. That was 30 studies per missionary. So you can imagine we weren't doing anything there but conduct studies. After we'd learned enough of the language to really converse with the people and really get to and fro with them in the Japanese language. And right away, as soon as we started to study in Japanese, we lost about 2/3 of our studies. And that's how we learned who were interested in us and who were interested in the truth. It's interesting that in the first 10 years in Japan, and we had up to 60 missionaries in the country by that time, we got just 1,000 publishers. And now in Japan, they get 1,000 publishers increase every month. You talk about Jehovah speeding the work up. Well, that means it's been speeded up 120 times since those early days of missionary work. There's nothing here on this earth to compare with God's organization. There's never been anything, even back in Bible times, to compare with what Jehovah has now and what he's doing now. Stick at it, dear brothers and sisters. You're in perhaps the most privileged place in the world today. And let your joy keep overflowing, and just stay with it, and Jehovah will bless you.
You're about to meet the Gonos. They have served in Bethel for 44 years and Brother Gournaud has served as the coordinator of the Netherlands branch committee since 1990.
I was raised in the truth.
We became engaged when Willie was in prison, and because at that time the Watchtower publications were banned in prison, so I made handwritten copies of the Watchtower and I sent them to him.
I sent her love letters, and she sent me copies of the Watchtower. When I was released from prison, about 2 years later, we married, and then I could find a very well-paid job. And we had a beautiful house, we had a nice car also. The future was ours.
Shortly after our marriage, we invited the circuit overseer to have dinner with us. And during the meal, he looked at us and he said, "You have to tell me something. Why are you not pioneering?"
That same week, I resigned my job, and we canceled the rent of our house. And shortly thereafter, we moved to a small apartment, and then we started a new life, pioneering.
A new apartment, there we did not even have a shower. But we knew that we have made the right choice.
Privileges followed.
Sacrifices, privileged sacrifice, privilege.
We are so happy that we invited the circuit overseer for dinner that day.
The Gournauds made the right choices, and Jehovah rewarded them. The closer we get to the end of this system of things, the more we need to keep in mind how the governing body always divides people.
The congregation elders took the decision to disfellowship him. That word is used by Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses don't use the word shun or shunning. They refer to it as disfellowship, disfellowshipping, disfellowshipped, because that really gives the sense of what's taking place within this particular religious community.
And that's the theme of this music video. We won't forget you.
When the wind blows, when the rain comes, when the ground beneath you starts to slip away, we won't forget you. We are your family. We won't ignore you.
That night, after the meeting, I told Ben about the text I received from Levi. I told him everything. How I miss Levi so much, but that I also wanted to be loyal to Jehovah.
We are your family.
If we were to stand between Levi and the discipline he needs, we would in effect be blocking an expression of Jehovah's love from reaching him. In fact, it's our very loyalty to Jehovah that could save his life. We agreed to continue to put our trust in Jehovah and stay loyal to him.
We won't ignore you.
It's been 5 years now, and while Levi still hasn't returned to Jehovah, I haven't given up hope on him. Until that day, I'm staying busy as a regular pioneer and focusing my energies on helping others learn about Jehovah.
Love is a bond, a perfect bond that time will not erase.
Mom and Dad were very zealous, and people just assumed that I would follow in their footsteps. I was the model child who was always held up as an example. It also put me under enormous pressure. It was like everyone was watching me, and I couldn't make a mistake.
You're not alone.
In my mid-teens, I began to feel torn.
You're not alone.
I felt so confined.
You're not alone.
I didn't tell anyone how I felt. I just pretended everything was all right and went through the motions.
You're not alone.
I ended up getting disfellowshipped.
Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped.
Disfellowship literally means no further spiritual fellowship.
It crushed my whole family.
Okay, to continue the meeting, we may remember last month's service.
As I point out at paragraph 22 of my factum, the nature of the relationship then of a disfellowship person is not completely shunned.
We won't ignore you.
They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me.
As far as their family members are concerned, normal family relations continue with the exception of spiritual fellowship.
But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me.
We won't ignore you.
It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah,
motivating us to do what we can in His service.
And the door is not closed to Mr. Well either. The person who is disfellowshipped can, after a period of time, ask to be reinstated in the congregation, because that's the purpose of the discipline.
But when you serve no purpose to Him anymore, that's it.
We've seen a lot of divisions earthwide.
I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years.
We are your family.
We want to mention something to you. Something very special.
In matters of conscience, elders cannot force decisions on others.
Yes, our objective is to be viewed as faithful ones by Jehovah. Only then can we have a lasting hope for the future, knowing that He will provide us strength both now and to all eternity. We'd like to conclude the program with these pictures from what will soon become the new world headquarters in Warwick, New York. Over 1,500 brothers and sisters are working there every day in its construction. I'm sure that they all agree that it is Jehovah who is taking the lead. Until next time, this is